All right, so let's talk at knee positions when we're body locking. Now, there are a few different knee positions, but the most important ones are whether or not we have a knee inside or a knee outside. Generally, when we enter into body locks, we're going to start in a position where my partner has 2 butterfly hooks inside my thighs, and I have 2 knees outside my partner's feet. Now we go in, we start to do all of our work from here. But there's also a situation where I can either start with 1 knee inside of my partner's 2 feet, or I can start with my 2 knees outside my partner's feet, and then I can make conversions to where I end with a knee inside. And how we're going to pommel our legs when we get to the leg pommeling portion is going to, everything that we do is going to depend on where my knee starts. If I have my knee on the outside, we're going to be pommeling in one direction, and we use one type of series of pommeling. And if my knee's on the inside, we use a second series of pommeling. So whether you do one type of leg pommeling versus another is going to depend on where your knee is, whether it's outside or whether it's inside. And this is super, super important. There's a series of movements that we do when our 2 knees are on the outside, and a series of movements that we do when 1 knee is on the inside. So you have to be cognizant of this as we progress into these passes. Right now, we're going to start with entering into a basic front body lock, starting with 2 knees on the outside, and then we're going to progress from there. All right, so now we've got a lot of concepts down. Let's look at just entering into a very basic double unders body lock from a kneeling position. We're going to have someone in front of us, and there are many different ways that we can do this. A lot of different grip fighting sequences we're going to look at in a second, but let's just go in having an opponent who has elbows relatively far away from the body. She's maybe out here somewhere, and we find ourselves in an exchange. We're just going to think about coming down to a situation where our head aligns with our partner's collarbones like so. All right. What I don't want is for me to come forwards and go up and above my partner's shoulders. This makes it pretty easy now if I go to drive my partner forwards for her to fall to a hip and start off balancing me because my head's off center line. So what I want is to keep my head on the center by keeping my forehead aligned with my partner's collarbones like so. Okay. So when I go to shoot in initially, I can later move to a high tripod and start going into situations like so, but after my partner's flattened out. So just shooting into a very basic body lock, we just come in, our 2 knees are down, she has 2 feet inside, we lower our head position, then we just shoot quickly right to our partner's hips like so. What we need is to get into the habit of having fast hands. You don't have to be fast, but you got to have fast hands. So when I go in, my head lowers, and I just quickly right to the body every time. So the second my head lowers and I'm ready to go, I don't play around here and get caught in this gray area where I'm overextended but don't have my hands locked. I lower my level, and the second my head comes down and I'm ready to go, we just go in and we lock. And now from here, the second we go in and lock, we pull our partner's hips towards us, we drive our partner down to the floor, we bring our knees to our elbows, and now we can start playing from here. Okay? When my partner goes to extend me from this position, it's a very difficult thing, and we can start going in and working to pass. So we come in, see our partner's elbows are separated from the body, just very basic, we go to enter in, the head changes levels, like so, and we just quickly shoot right to our partner's hips. Now the whole thing is to pull her hips in towards her heels, put those shoulders behind the hips, and now as I drive my partner forward, I just take my knees to my elbows. And now when she goes to move me around from here, it's hard to forward shift, it's hard to sumigashi, there's no guillotines, and we can start to work and play our game right from there. It's a very basic entrance, just shooting to the body and making sure that we don't play around and get caught in this gray area where I'm overextended towards my partner, but I don't have a lock of my hands and she can start to punch underhooks in or go for sumigashis, things like that. So I make sure the second my head changes levels, I go quickly with fast hands right to the body in one of those 3 grips that we're going to be looking at. All right, so now let's look at some grip fighting sequences that we can use to enter into a body lock on someone who's actively grip fighting and trying to avoid me getting my hands locked around their hips. There are almost an infinite amount of number of gripping sequences and different hand placements and different leg placements that my partner can use. So instead of giving you, 60,000 different grip fighting sequences and have to memorize them all, I'm just going to give you an idea to work with that will allow you to figure out the grip fighting and then eventually lock your hands around your partner's hips. When we're grip fighting, we're going to be grip fighting at my partner's head, at my partner's arms, and at my partner's legs. If you just play a grip fighting game, it's pretty easy for you to get into this repetitive pommeling battle where I try to pommel my partner's hands and she pommels back and I grab her wrist, she grabs my wrist. I can never actually get the opportunity to come forward and get to my partner's hips. So I play a game where I go back and forth between posting on my partner's shoulder and pulling on my partner's head. I go back and forth between grip fighting at the hands, using 2-on-1s, faking arm drags, things like that, opening up my partner's hands out and away, and playing at my partner's legs, where from here I can start moving my partner around and separating the elbows from the body. Okay. What I want is to create a diversion where I go in, I start pulling on my partner's head, and now from here, for example, she comes up and she goes to take a collar tie off and she goes to strip my grip, and you see now from here, the elbow separated from the body. What I can't have is my partner in a strong defensive stance where I don't do anything, and I just go to come to wrap my partner's hips, my partner underhooks me or she brings her knees inside. So I have to create some kind of diversion which will separate her arms from the body. Whether I use grips like so, or now we come in and we go to our partner's hips, whether we go to the head, my partner goes to clear the collar tie, and now from here we go to strip, and my partner goes to pull that hand back or post exactly. We can pass the elbows across, and then we go in and we lock. If I see my partner's knees are too close together, and I feel like I'm fighting at the hands and fighting at the head, I have no success from here, then I have to start taking my partner's knees out and away, and I have to start getting her hand posted to the floor. And now from here, I can separate an elbow from the body, and if my partner keeps the knees together, we go and we can enter side body locks. So what she has to do is she has to react and open up the knees, and now the elbow is separated from the body, the knees are open, and we can shoot through, and we can get to a body lock. So we play a game where we work at my partner's upper body and my partner's lower body. We play a game where we can post my partner's shoulder, we can pull my partner's head. We can play a grip fighting game with the hands where she goes to grab my wrist, I go to grab hers. I pass an arm across, she goes to recover. I go to shoot into a situation where I can lock a body lock. I fake an arm drag, she goes to pull back. We go through and we lock up a body lock. I can't get past the knees. We look to get her hands to the floor. She goes to recover and we go to a body lock. So we play this grip fighting battle where we work not just in a concentrated area of our partner's body, not just playing with the legs, not just playing with the head, not just posting on the shoulders, not just playing with the arms. But I play my partner's the full range of my partner's body to create some kind of diversion where I can get elbows separated from the body, at least one of them, if I'm going to go either double unders or with over under, and then I look to go in and shoot to my body lock. So we play a game where we're grip fighting. We go in and we lock. We play a game where we're grip fighting. She goes to start attacking me. She wants to start going in for subagashis and moving me around. And I start posting on my partner's shoulder. I start pulling in the head. Start taking inside ties. And then when I'm ready, we go through and we lock. This time she has knees close together. So I threaten the head. I'm playing at the upper body. And I threaten a side body lock. She goes to open up the knees. And we go in and we lock. And we play this game where the whole time we're fighting the full range of my partner's body. Not just at the legs, not just at the head, not just at the arms. I'm playing across my partner's entire body, going both directions. So when she goes to start grip fighting, we're always winning the grip fighting battle, getting the inside position, and then we go in and we lock. Okay? So we're playing this game, we're winning the grip fighting battle, creating diversions to separate the elbows from the body, where we can go in, and when the time is right, we quickly again lower the level of the head, and then we just shoot right to our partner's hips like so. When I shoot, I make sure I don't come in with wide elbows. She just digs the underhook in, and now she's in offense. When I shoot, my head level lowers, and the best I can, I take my two elbows to my rib cage, and I shoot them straight forward to the hips, never with wide elbows like so. So we're playing a game. When I go to shoot, it's here. And we go in and we lock. Okay? And now we can start to go to work. So we play a game where we look to grip fight until we can get to our partner's hips. Now again, there are almost an infinite amount of gripping sequences we can do here. I'm just giving you the general idea of how to separate your partner's elbows from the body. Okay? We're always working at the head, at the arms, and at my partner's knees. So we play our normal grip fighting game, and you have to remember, the person who dominates the gripping exchanges will dominate the pace of the match. If my partner can win the grip fighting exchanges, she's going to be dominating the pace of the match. So every time my partner goes to make a grip, I re-grip. And now I create some kind of kazushi. She goes to recenter the body. We shoot in and we lock. I go in, I grip. She goes to clear the grip. I re-grip. And now from here, she goes to pull back and away. We can go and shoot in. She goes in. She's playing a cagey game where she won't grip me. I can always come in and I can grip her. If I grab her and she doesn't react, now I can separate an elbow from the body, and now we can go in. If I grab her and she grabs me, I re-grab her, and now we can create another kazushi where she goes to recenter, and now we're ready to play. If she plays super conservative from here, then I start posting my partner's shoulder. I start pulling on the head. If she doesn't react to me pulling on the head, I just snap her to front headlock. She has to address this grip, and as she does, now we're ready to go. Or we can go in, we can separate our partner's knees. We can play our partner's head. We can play this game where we start moving our partner around. We start playing, and then when we're ready, we go in and we lock everything up. Okay? So with this general idea, you can form chains of grip fighting sequences to eventually get to your partner's hips. And just think about fighting at the upper body and fighting at the lower body equally. You can't just fight at the lower body. You can't just fight at the upper body. You can't just grip fight with your partner at the hands and the arms. You got to go to the head. You got to go to the knees. And then eventually things will open up where you can shoot forward and get to a strong lock over your partner's hips. All right, so now let's look at standing entrances versus kneeling entrances. Now, the grip fighting is going to remain pretty similar. The only major difference is that there's a lot more distance to cover now. When I'm on my knees, all I really have to do is lower my head a few inches, and now I'm ready to come forward and shoot to my partner's waist. The issue is, when I'm standing, now there's a great distance I have to cover from here. So it's very crucial that the level change is correct, and my hands are, again, going fast to the waist. Think about shooting a double leg. When I go to lock a body lock from this position, I'm going to lower my level, like so, as though I was going to shoot into my partner's legs. But instead, I just shoot right to my partner's waist, and now you have a choice, again, of either taking a knee inside or a knee outside. Same as kneeling. For our purposes right now, we're going to be working with 2 knees outside. But understand, you can always, when we're grip fighting from the knees, take knee inside as we're ready to go shoot. So I can play a game where I play here, and then I shoot with the knee on the inside. And that's the best. But for our purposes right now, we're going to work with 2 knees on the outside. But understand, if you want to expedite things, you can always shoot with the knee on the inside. For our purposes here, we're going to start shooting with knees on the outside. Now the grip fighting remains the same. So we're going to play a game here. We go in, we start playing with our partner's hands. We start playing with our partner's shoulders. We start pulling on the head. We start playing at the lower body. And now from here, because my partner has no hooks engaged, I can also start lifting my partner's ankles. Okay? So we play this game where we start to get our partner's hand separated from the body. Then we lower our level, like so. So we squat so that our head reaches the height of our partner's collarbones. And then we just shoot forward right to our partner's hips as though we're shooting a double leg. And now we pull our partner in, we flatten her out, and we're ready to start working. So what this will look like is my partner's grip fighting. I'm playing here. I'm feinting with the lead leg. You guys, I'm sure many of you have watched the first passing instructional, attacking the guard. Always feinting with that lead leg. I'm playing here. I'm moving around. I'm pulling in the head. I'm playing. And then when the time is right, I'm ready to go, and you just shoot forward to our partner's hips. The whole thing is, as I level change, I just change and go. So the second my head drops, we go forward and we lock onto our partner's waist. Okay. Now, we can add things here because of the fact that my partner has no sticky hooks inside my thighs because I'm not kneeling. So what I can do from here is I can start by lifting my partner's ankles. Whether we go to outside, whether we go to inside, whether we go inside, outside, doesn't make a difference. I start lifting my partner's ankles, and I look at her reaction. If my partner puts her 2 hands on the floor behind her, because most of the time, if your partner's playing a seated guard, she wants to stay seated, okay? So a common reaction is when I go to lift my partner's ankles, you'll get post with 2 hands behind the body like so. What does that mean for us? It means elbows are separated from the body. So the second I see that, we just let go of the ankles. We shoot right to our partner's waist like so. Now we're ready to go. When she goes to start off balancing me from here, we just center the head and we pull our partner's hips in. So we can play a game where we lift the ankles. We get the first reaction. We're hand fighting here. We're feinting. We lift the ankles. She posts the hands. As she goes to recover, we just come forward and we lock up. Our second response, this time, is from here. We get our partner who actually falls down to her back. If she stays on her back, and we just go in and we start passing. With Toreandos, we put a foot inside, and we start working from here. More than likely, if she's seated, she wants to stay seated. So she falls down to her back, and then she uses the momentum to sit back up and come towards me. All right? Whenever I see that, as she comes up, I meet her in the middle, and now we get to the waist, and we're ready to work. Okay? So I see her coming back towards me. I put her on the floor. She goes to come towards me. I lower my level, and we just go right in, and we lock up. All right? So whether she posts the hands on the floor behind her, like so, or we lift the ankles, she goes to come back up, and we can meet her halfway in the middle. We can play game now at the ankles because of the fact that my partner's not engaging sticky hooks. If I'm on my knees from here, I can't lift my partner's ankles. If I'm standing, there's no feet engaged. I'm playing a game, I'm grip fighting from here, I'm playing a game. And now we can go in and we can shoot, okay? And we can still play all the previous game. We can go to our partner's head. She goes to clear the tie. She's playing, I see her knees are close together. I can't come into the body lock. Playing from here. I'm ready to go. And we can start playing a game where we can start flattening our partner out, passing, forcing half guard, moving, working from there. Okay, so very similar grip fighting ideas here. With the addition, now you can grab the ankles. The biggest difference is going to be the level change and the amount of distance covered to get to my partner's waist. So I have to make sure when I level change, my forehead again meets the line of my partner's collarbone. Now when I shoot, I shoot quickly to the waist. And we're ready to go. All right, so let's look at ways that we can use these three methods between shelving my partner's leg, stuffing my partner's leg, and splitting my partner's leg. Now, what are these methods and what do they mean? These are the three general directions we can go. Now, of course, there are exceptions, and there are other things that we can do, but in general, these are the three ways we're looking to pass. If I have a body lock, we play a general game between shelving my partner's leg, like so, where I put my partner's shin across my hips, and I shelf my partner's legs across my hips and my two thighs. Where now, we use a shelving method, and we can shelf, and we can pass our partner to the outside, like so. We can use a stuffing method, where from here, I step over my partner's knee, and she denies me a shelf, and we'll look more at this trilemma as we start to go deeper into this. Everything will look to make sense. We're playing a trilemma between the three, where if I can't shelf my partner's leg, I can stuff my partner's leg, and I can force her into a half guard, where now I can start passing from half guard, whether it be a full half guard or a butterfly half guard. So I can shelf my partner's leg across my hips. If my partner denies that, I can stuff my partner's leg, and I can step over it, and I can physically stuff it into half guard, where now I can start to pass from here. And if I feel like I can't do either of those, we can play a method where we start splitting our partner's leg, where now I play a game where I can split my partner's two legs, and I can control the distance between my partner's knees. So now I've split my partner's two legs. When she goes to move her legs at all or pommel her legs, this is the best position we can be in, where I completely split my partner's two legs, and now from here, it's tough for her to do anything, okay? So we play a general trilemma between shelfing my partner's leg, stuffing my partner's leg into half guard, and splitting my partner's leg with an inside ankle. We can split our partner's leg in that fashion, or we can split our partner's leg when my partner still has a butterfly hook inside on the other side, and we just create ankle exposure, and we split our partner's legs like so. So we still dominate the space between our partner's knees. So when she goes to move from here, it's a difficult thing. It's not as good as if I have complete inside position, but it's still very good. So we play this general trilemma between shelfing my partner's leg and passing to the outside, stuffing my partner's leg into a half guard, and splitting my partner's legs when I feel like either of those aren't available, or just want to expedite the passing process and split my partner's legs into a more dominant passing position. So now let's look at a very basic hip switch pass against a naive opponent with not very sticky hooks. The hooks are going to determine how basic or advanced your passes will have to be. Okay, the less sticky my partner's hooks are, the more basic my passes will be. The more sticky my partner's hooks are, the more advanced my passes will be. Okay, so you play a game based around the stickiness of your partner's hooks. If your partner's hooks are not very sticky at all, and they're just kind of inserted, but they're not doing anything, there's no tension, I just use a very basic hip switch pass or some other kind of passes where we can quickly, move past one or both of our partner's legs and pass our partner's guard. But if your partner has incredibly sticky hooks, then I have to get more creative and go into more advanced passes. So we're going to start very basic, and then we're going to move into more advanced pommeling after that. So we initially lock our hands, and we flatten our partner out with this basic body lock here. Okay. Now, if I feel my partner's legs are in place, but they're just kind of dangling around, there's no tension running through the legs, you'll feel this immediately. I can always just go for a basic hip switch pass where I look to start coming forward on my partner. I lean forward and I just step over my partner's hip. So I move to one side, so I take my right knee towards my partner's center line, and now I just take a big step with my left leg up and over my partner's knee. As I step over my partner's knee, I'm just going to quickly hip switch and get all the way past my partner's legs completely. So I can't reach my partner's knee if my two knees are outside my partner's center line on either side. So I just shuffle to the side I'm looking to pass. If I'm looking to pass to my left, I look left and I just shuffle 1, 2 to create a slight angle like so. And now from here, we just step, the big step up and over our partner's leg. And as we do that, we just hip switch past our partner's legs. And now we just shelf our partner's leg on top of our right knee, in this case, and we point our partner's knees in the opposite direction as us. When she goes to recover from here, her knees are pointing in the wrong direction for a basic knee elbow escape, and we solidify a top pin on our partner. Whenever I see my partner has 2 butterfly hooks, but they're not very sticky, we use a basic hip switch pass, where from here, we shuffle our legs to the side we're looking to pass. We want to pass to our left, so we shuffle 1, 2 to the left. This serves 2 purposes. 1, it allows us to get over our partner's knee. 2, it stops us from our partner from locking a full guard. What I don't want is for me to hit a big reach with my knees in the starting position. I hit a big reach over my partner's leg. As I go to shoot this leg back, one leg comes over into closed guard, then the other leg comes up over into closed guard, and now your body lock is useless. Okay, you never body lock anyone from closed guard. You're never going to pass anybody like that, unless they're terrible. So I go in, I lock up, and now from here, I move to one side. So I shuffle to my left. This will create a wedging effect on my partner's left leg, the far leg from you guys. So now we're going to kick my left leg back. Even if she does get her knee up and over her leg up and over my back, she can only get one leg inside, or one leg outside. When she goes to get another leg up for close guard, it's not there. And now worst case scenario is we can shelf our partner's opposite leg, and then we just start passing in the opposite direction. Okay? So we go in, we shuffle to one side, we take a big step up and over our partner's knee. And as we do that, we just drop our left hip down, our right hip comes up, and then our right hip comes down to beat our partner's knee from inserting back inside of our hip. So we shuffle, big step, and then left hip goes down, and then left hip comes up. So left hip down, 1, 2, left hip comes up. So it's left hip comes down and up. And we can shuffle our partner's leg at the end. I always make sure I walk back towards my partner's hips at the end. What I don't want happening is I get past my partner's legs and I end up here. She just goes knee to elbow, she reinserts the knee, and now I'm back in guard. Not the end of the world. You still do have your hands locked, but not optimal. So we always make sure when we hip switch, we chase the hips. Shuffle, step and go. And now my partner's knees are facing away. When she goes to face me, it's impossible. She'll always give up a pin without ever being able to insert the knee. If she turns away from me, then obviously it's back exposure. Okay, so just a very basic hip switch against your partner's hooks, provided there's not much tension through the legs, and I can just quickly step over a knee, hip switch past 2 butterfly hooks, and solidify a pin. So let's talk about this same pass we just looked at, but ways to not get caught in half guard. All right, so initially we dealt with a very naive opponent. She basically just had the position of butterfly guard, but there's no tension running through the legs. Now we start to get a little bit more advanced, and your partner realizes, okay, if I allow my partner to hip switch, I'm going to get passed. So even if they don't have sticky butterfly hooks, they just maybe sometimes instinctually move their leg position, or they say, okay, let me try to lock a half guard, and you get caught in half guard. What will happen is, if I go to hip switch, past my partner's legs, I shuffle to the side, and now I go to extend, and I go to hip switch. If I don't extend my right foot or my right leg and shorten my trail leg by pulling my heel to my butt, my partner will trap me in half guard. So my whole thing, when I go to step over the leg, is I extend my right leg backwards here, and I keep my heel to my butt. So I extend backwards, my heel comes up, we switch, and we bring our knee underneath our partner's legs. So when I go to do the hip switch against a naive opponent, if there's no short trail leg, it doesn't matter. We just come up, we shuffle, we hip switch. Even if my heel's nowhere near my butt, you just hip switch past the very basic butterfly guard and get the win. Now you start getting a little bit more advanced here, and you go to hit the hip switch, and you find you're getting stuck in half guard. Okay, now how can we deal with this? So we go to shuffle to the side. This time, if we don't have a short trail leg, my partner just extends her leg, and now I get caught in half guard. I try to hip switch, but my leg's stuck, and now it messes me up about halfway through. So whenever we're passing, and this isn't just for this pass, this is just a general rule for passing body locks, it's always keeping a short trail leg. A short trail leg just requires me to pull my heel in towards my butt. This will limit the degree that my leg is exposed to being trapped in half guard or being trapped in other ways. Okay? Whenever I'm looking to pass from here, whether it be from here or whether it be from a different position, let's say we're going here, I always look to use a short trail leg. instead of having my heel out and away from my butt, my partner can tie me up in a half guard. So I always look to go in, and whenever I'm passing, whether it be from one position or another, I always look to use that short trail leg. So as she goes to trap me in half guard, there's now no ability to do that, and we can bypass the half guard altogether instead of trying to just pommel over and we get caught and we get beat from here. So I always use a short trail leg, where now from here, my partner has a hard time trapping my legs, and we can start a position where we can start pinning my partner's legs and riding my partner's legs rather than her trapping my legs in between hers. So we use short trail legs by just simply pulling the heel to my butt when I'm looking to pass. And this is from not from just the hip switch, but from various other positions where we come through here, where pommeling legs through. Okay? All right, so let's look at either forcing half guard, if we fail a hip switch, or if my partner just traps me in half guard. So there's two ways you can do this. Number one, the first scenario is you try to hip switch and your partner actually traps your leg in a half guard and you have to force a half guard like so. Number two is you can't hip switch past your partner's opposite butterfly hook and you just step over the knee and you force half guard. So let's look at this. You have to understand the relationship between trying to hip switch and stepping over a knee and your partner moving into a half guard. If I flatten my partner out like so, a lot of times what will happen, and this is not just from this specific position, I go to step over my partner's knee like so. If my partner tries to pull the knee into the chest for a long amount of time, it will be too late at some point for her to actually lock a half guard. So what happens is she tries to keep that knee to the chest to avoid me stepping over it. But I get over the knee, and now as I go to hip switch, I get over the knee, I hip switch past, and now there's a point of no return where my partner can't lock a half guard. So what happens a lot of times is the second your partner feels the knee is beat, she realizes there's no point in pulling the knee to the chest anymore, and she just willingly extends the leg and lets you step over the knee, and she tries to lock a half guard. So what this will look like is I go to step, and now from here, my partner realizes, okay, my knee's going to be beat. Before she gets to a point of no return and she can't lock a half guard, the second I step over the knee, she just shoots her leg through, and now I go to hip switch, but my leg is trapped either in a regular traditional half guard, or she keeps the butterfly hook in, and now we're in a butterfly half guard. But it doesn't matter. One of the great utilities of using a body lock is forcing half guard past my partner's top leg and top arm and being chest to chest. So in the event my partner does lock a half guard on me, it doesn't matter, or butterfly half guard, it doesn't matter from here. I'm still in a perfect passing position where I'm chest to chest in half guard, and I'm past my partner's annoying top leg and top arm. This is exactly what I want from here. I want to be in half guard chest to chest, and the passage should be easy from here. So if I can force half guard and get past my partner's top leg, this is exactly what I want from here. This is our finishing position, and then we'll look at how to actually pass half guard and butterfly half guard very specifically in the next instructional. But if I can force a half guard from here, this is perfect. This is where we want to be. So if my partner realizes, okay, let me trap my partner's leg before there's no point of return, she extends the leg the second I get over the knee, and before I can hip switch, she traps me in half guard. Another way this can happen is if I go to hip switch and I almost get over my partner's butterfly hook, but I can't quite hip switch past my partner's left leg butterfly hook. So what will happen is I'll shuffle to a side, I'll step over, I'll go to hip switch, and I feel like I just can't clear my partner's butterfly hook like so. From this position, I just step over my partner's knee. And now from here, my partner has a choice. If my partner doesn't choose to lock half guard, it's a pretty easy thing to just walk her knees away from me, sticky butterfly hook, to just walk my partner's knees away from me, and now the sticky butterfly hook, given time, will always come off. So your partner's never going to choose that option. If I can't initially hip switch past the butterfly hook, my partner will realize I go to initially switch, I can't get past the butterfly hook, she just extends her leg and she fishes for a half guard, I give her the half guard, and now from here, we just use that as a means to get to a flattened out half guard where we can pass from here. And this is exactly what I wanted in the first place, was to step over my partner's knee and stuff it to a half guard. So 2 options. From here initially, I go to step over, and I feel like the second I get over my partner's knee, she just immediately shoots her leg to a half guard, and she traps my leg, and I'm working from here. That's fine. Okay? She doesn't wait until a point of no return where I get over the knee, and then I'm already halfway into a hip switch, and she can't actually trap my leg then. Or she doesn't allow me to she doesn't trap me in half guard, where now I gotta step over my partner's knee, and instead of extending her leg, her right leg towards me to try to trap me in half guard, she engages the left leg butterfly hook. So I go to hip switch, and I feel like I can't get past my partner's leg. If my partner stays here, I just put my knee back on the floor, and now from here, I use that short trail leg to just walk my partner's knees away from me, and now the knees are pointing in the wrong direction to stay sticky with that hook. So when she goes to keep that hook now, I can always shear it by and replace the knee. So what anyone good is going to do is the second I go to step over that knee and she engages that butterfly hook, and I feel like I go to hip switch, but I can't get past the butterfly hook, she's going to be fishing for that half guard. So I give her that half guard, and now from here, we can work from a flattened out half guard, and we can start to play, move into the upper body, or using a body lock to pass from half guard. So 2 different scenarios where we would force a half guard. Number 1, we step over the knee, and our partner allows us right away to step into a half guard where she actively extends her leg towards me, realizing her knee position's beat before I actually get past her legs. Or I try to hip switch initially, and the butterfly hook is so sticky where I just can't clear it. Then my partner engages the sticky butterfly hook, uses that as a means to slow me down, and then uses her bottom leg to fish for a half guard. I step over the knee, and then from there, we can go in and start passing from a flattened out half guard. So let's look at a situation where we try to quickly hip switch past our partner's 2 butterfly hooks, and it's just not working. All right, now there's a couple ways that we can go from here. We're going to look to get one of our knees now inside of our partner's leg, start splitting our partner's legs like so. Okay? There's a couple ways that we can do this. Number 1, when we initially lock the body lock, if we want to expedite the process instead of having to sprawl past my partner's legs and do all of the moves we're about to do, I can just start by getting my knee inside my partner's legs, whether from kneeling or from standing, before I go into the body lock. So we can play a game where we're hand fighting. I move my partner's legs out to the side, for example. She goes to recover, and as I go to put my knee inside, I shoot to the body lock, and now I start initially with a knee to the inside. Or if I'm standing, instead of coming in here and having my foot outside of her feet, and then dropping down and locking a body lock with her 2 legs inside mine, like so, I can split my partner's legs, or I have a foot in the middle of my partner's 2 feet. So now, when I go to play this hand fighting game, I'm going to come down and body lock. We go in, we get a leg to the inside right away. This is the best, one of the best entrances you can have, because your leg is immediately splitting your partner's legs. So while it's better, and if you can get to that, it's great, but it's harder to initially enter into, okay? Everyone knows that if you can get a leg to the center, it's going to be easier for you to work from there. So what everyone does is they keep 2 feet together, and every time you get a pommel a leg to the inside, they just pommel with you, and it's hard for you to actually get a foot to the inside. Whereas I get a pommel a leg to the inside, she backs away, and now she brings her feet back inside, and she scoots forward, and she adjusts. Where I'm in here, every time I go to take my foot to the inside, she takes a foot, and she just moves her feet back to the inside. So if I have my feet to the outside, I want to split my partner's legs. This time, as I go to move, she follows me, and she just takes a slight angle, or now puts my foot back outside hers. So understand that if you can initially get a knee inside and lock a body lock, it's going to be better than starting with 2 of her feet on the inside of your thighs. But it is a harder position to get to. So how can we achieve this position after we lock the hands we flatten someone out, and we're working from here. Okay? Once I initially lock my hands and I flatten my partner out, the first thing I'm going to look to do is I'm always going to test my partner with the stickiness of her hooks. I'm going to initially try to hip switch past my partner's legs and or force her into some kind of half guard. Okay? So the second I flatten my partner out, I'm going to see what the hooks are like. I'm going to try to step over her knee. If I can, great. If not, then I'm going to have to start using sprawling methods to get past my partner's hook. How can we clear one of our partner's sticky butterfly hooks? Okay, we're going to look to start, again, shuffling, like we're going to step over a knee, like so. And now from here, we're just going to sprawl the right leg back and away, like so. So go straight back, and now we just walk towards my opposite leg. And now from here, we can split our partner's two legs. What will happen here will be contingent upon what your partner does. If she's naive, she'll allow you to shelf the leg, which is not what most people will do. But if I sprawl my leg back and she allows me to shelf the leg, I can just go into passes or follow-ups from here. If I sprawl my leg back and I clear the butterfly hook and she keeps her leg here, I can shelf it. And now we can start working from this position here. Most of the time, what's going to happen is she'll have sticky butterfly hooks. I shuffle to a side. I step a leg up. And now as I sprawl, I beat one butterfly hook, and she keeps a sticky hook with this leg. So now when I go to shelf it on this leg, there's no purchase and no ankle exposure here. So the sticky hook stays inside. I bring a knee back up. Now we end up with one of my partner's foot inside and my knee on the inside of my partner's leg on the opposite side. So what this will look like, as we go in, we flatten our partner out. From here, I try to step over a knee. I can't do it. I can't hit a hip switch. I can't force half guard. What am I going to do from here? We again hit that same shuffle out and over to the side. And now from here, we pull our knee and our elbow together so our partner can't lock a full guard. If I had this knee way back, I go to sprawl, she locks a closed guard. So always make sure I shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. This time, I step a leg up, and I pull my knee and my elbow together. So now, when she goes to lock a closed guard, her right leg is stuck. And now we just sprawl back in this direction. If I come right back up, keeps the hook in. So I sprawl, and I just shuffle out over to my left side. So she goes to keep a sticky hook. I just walk out and away. If she's naive, the leg gets shelved. If she's smart, the sticky hook stays in. Now we end up with one knee inside. She has one foot inside. And we can start working from this position where we can split our partner's two legs. We can go into work from here. Okay? So whenever I see I can't step over a knee, there are a couple ways to go from here. One is by sprawling past the leg and getting an inside knee. The other, which we're going to look at later, is using an inside elbow with a different grip variation where we use a long arm, short arm, and now we can start working from here to use different methods of getting knees to the inside. Okay, we're going to look at that more later. So we start, we flatten our partner out in a body lock, and from here, we try to go in and step over her knee and hip switch, and we test our partner either with hip switching or forcing her into half guard. I feel like neither one of those are working. I can't get over my partner's knee. When I see this, I just shuffle to a side. I step a leg up. All right. Now, once that leg comes up, she goes to start moving around. I sprawl. I just walk, walk, walk. Now, she goes to bring that butterfly hook back in. I slide my knee forward. Sticky hook. I slide my knee forward. And I open it. And now I can drop back down the two knees like so. Okay? And then from here, we can go into good attacking options with passing or forcing half guard. This is going to be a similar pass to the one we looked at with the quick hip switch, but it's going to be different because of the fact that we now split our partner's legs and there's no butterfly hooks in place. Okay? So, when we... What are you laughing at? Yeah, tell them. What are you laughing at? Nothing, right?
Go on.
So this time, instead of stepping over into half guard and stepping over the knee, and we end up with a butterfly hook in place, we've already split our partner's legs. So now, there's no butterfly hook in place. So now, what we're going to look to do is we're going to immediately step over our partner's knee, and as we step over the knee, we're going to shorten our trail leg. So we go 1, the knee comes up, 2, my trail leg shortens. So simultaneously, as my knee comes up, my trail leg shortens so that my partner can't lock a half guard. And now from here, we're just going to shuffle to a side to bring my partner's knee down. I'm looking to create knee exposure. I take my knee up and over the top of my partner's knee. What I'm looking to do is to get the inside of my left knee over the top of her right knee. And now from here, as I drag my partner's knee back towards the center line, we shorten our trail leg like so. Okay? And then we step into this position where I lock a figure 4. So what we're looking to do is I shuffle to a side, I walk my knee up. I create knee exposure by my knee. Now, I pull my partner's knee back towards the center line. Like so. And as I do that, I make sure my trail leg ends up on top of my partner's leg, not underneath, stuck in half guard. And now from here, we step up and over, we catch, we drag it back towards the center line. So I shuffle to my left, now I'm going to shuffle right. And you see now my short trail leg ends up over my partner's leg like so. When she goes to trap me in a half guard, it's not going to happen. And that's a pretty easy thing for me to make a pass off, where I pass her leg from my left leg to my right leg. So I switch my hips, I pass from my left to my right, and then we shove. So what this will look like is we switch our head from one side to the other. So when we pass the side control, our head's going to move from one shoulder to the other shoulder. And now from here, I just walk. We make a pass, and now we're ready to go. With a top pin and side control. So, we lock up a body lock. We sprawl past our partner's leg. From here, we continue to walk. 1, 2, 3, until we can create that knee exposure. Now, I pull my partner's knee down towards the center line. So what I'm doing is I'm sweeping my partner's knee towards her center line. Ultimately, I'm passing to this side, so I want my partner's knees to point away from me. I take her knee down towards the center line, and then when I make the pass off, I sweep the knee across and I point her knees in the opposite direction. She wants her knees to point towards me to retain guard. I want her knees pointing away from me to pass. So the purpose of creating this knee exposure is from here, I drag the knee back towards the center line. And now, as she goes to bring that knee up, I just walk. It's the contraction of her abs in midsection, pulling the knee to the chest, versus the entire walking and shuffling of my body. And now from here, we use that short trail leg to pin my partner's leg down. When she goes to move from here, it's impossible. My head switches from one side to the other, and now from here, we make a pass off, where we sweep the leg across, left leg passes to right, and we shelf it, and we're past our partner's legs. So one more time, different angle. We flatten our partner out. We sprawl past that hook. From here, we step, step, step. past our partner's legs into a top pin, working with a body lock. Okay, so this time we feel like we can't initially hip switch past our partner's legs. We sprawl past the leg and we step over our partner's knee. Assuming we can step over the knee, we use a short trail leg to pass right to side control, and then we work from there. So now, assuming that I can create knee exposure and step over my partner's knee, my partner's in a little bit of a dilemma here. Okay. She has two choices. If I step over my partner's knee, like so, she can either, one, try to resist and pull the knee back up to the chest, okay? Or she can use her hand to assist and push my knee off and pull the knee back up into the chest. But assuming that I can keep my partner's knee exposed to my knee, she's in a bit of a dilemma here. If she stays in this position too long and she fights to pull her knee up and she's unsuccessful, I will keep a short trail leg, and now she's getting past. If, on the other hand, my partner realizes, okay, I'm beat at the knee, my knee's exposed, it's gonna get dragged away from my elbow, but I can lock a half guard, she'll shoot her leg down, and she'll force a half guard, which will stop me from passing initially, but now she's in bottom half guard, and she's flattened out chest to chest. So it's a basic dilemma. If my partner fights to keep her knee up, and she fights until the last second to pull her knee to her chest, my short trail leg will allow me to pass her. She'll fight to a point of no return, and the short trail leg will allow me to pommel over her leg and trap her. If she doesn't fight to keep her knee to her chest, and she concedes half guard, she extends her leg and she drags me into a half guard, yes, she doesn't get past initially, but now she concedes half guard, I pull the knee away from her elbow, and I force her into a half guard. Okay, so this is the game. This is the dilemma we're playing. Now, this is very similar to stepping over the knee before. We were in full butterfly guard, but just understand that you're ending up in two different half guards. This is why I'm showing you them separately. One is a butterfly half guard, where your partner has a butterfly hook in place. When you split the legs, you end up in a full half guard, where your partner has his legs wrapped around yours. So, very similar movements and mechanics, but you're ending up in two relatively different positions. One's a butterfly half guard, and one's a regular, basic, classical half guard. And the way you go about passing these, once you actually step over the knee into half guard, will be different. Okay, so understand that one, if your partner's 2 feet are inside, and you step over a knee, you end up in butterfly half guard. If you split the legs first, and you step over a knee, you end up in a classical half guard. So whichever one you feel more comfortable with, you can either step over a knee before you split the legs and end up in a butterfly half, or if you feel more comfortable from a regular half guard, you split the legs first, and then you play the game, you step over the knee, and then you work from there. Okay? So you're forcing half guard by creating a dilemma. If your partner fights until the last second to pull that knee up, you eventually will create knee exposure, and your short trail leg will allow you to pass. If your partner realizes, okay, if I fight too long, the short trail leg is going to beat me, end up on top, she shoots into a half guard, she traps you, now she's flattened out in half guard, we want this anyways. So you either end up with the pass, or you end up flattened out in half guard, which is what we wanted in the first place. So everything we've looked at so far...
No, because he keeps punching me. Kicking me and punching me for no reason. I don't understand. Too much energy, right? So excited.
All hopped up on Mountain Dew. All right, so everything we looked at so far has been under the assumption that we can step over our partner's knee, or we can just pass our guard. Right now, when you start dealing with higher and higher level people, this is not going to be the case. What's going to start happening is you're going to try to step over your partner's knee, and they're not going to allow you to step over the knee. Whether they're closing the knee into your hip, whether they're posting on your knee with their hand, it's going to be hard to step over the knee on a talented player. So what's going to start happening is I have my partner flattened out, and from here, I go to step over my partner's knee, and she closes the knee towards my rib cage. And it gets close, but I can't get over my partner's knee. Or the knees flared out a little bit, I go to step over, and she uses her right hand to stop me, and I feel like I get stalemated here. All right, so what can we do here? So we sprawl past the leg, we get a leg inside, and now I feel like from here, I go to step over my partner's leg, over my partner's knee, and it's just not happening. Whenever I see this, I'm going to switch my two knees. I put my left knee down, and I take my right knee up. So my left knee comes down like so, and now from here, I just sprawl my opposite leg back, and I just lean out to the side. What I want to make sure of is I don't sprawl straight back, and then allow my partner to put her butterfly hook back in, and now I'm back into a full butterfly guard. When I sprawl back, and I connect my right knee to my left ankle, like so. So now, when she goes to put a butterfly hook in, there's no purchase on my leg. She can get her foot in place, but she can't actually put a meaningful butterfly hook in. So when she goes to convert to a full butterfly guard, that foot gets stuck and it's useless, and now she usually takes it out and uses it to do something else. Okay? So when I go to shelf the leg, what's important is I have one leg up, I'm trying to step over the knee. I can't do it. I put the knee down, I sprawl the leg back. If I go straight back, this happens. This is no good. So I go back, I lean to one side, and I sprawl the leg back so that my knee and inner thigh connect to my foot and ankle. Depending on how sticky your partner's hook is, you will have to go either closer or further from your partner's hips. If my partner's hook is not very sticky, I just take my knee to my ankle. Not very sticky. I take my knee to my ankle, and we replace. If I feel like my partner's fishing for a full butterfly hook, I just keep walking backwards until I feel now my partner can't reach to the hook anymore. And now, when she goes to re-dig that hook in, only the toes will come in as a full butterfly hook. And now, when she goes to use the toes to extend me or do anything, she can't use them. And now, if she stays in there, she's just going to get passed anyways. And most of the time, she'll take the foot out and start to try to shrimp or exactly what have you to try to escape from there. Okay? So whenever I see I'm playing a game where I'm trying to step over a knee the best I can, I just can't do it. Whenever I see that, I just place the knee down on the floor and I shoot the other leg back. Here. Now, I'm in a stable position from here. When my partner goes to move me around, it's a difficult thing. The only way that your partner can move from here is if she fully extends her right leg. And if she does that, she leads me into a pass. So she has to be careful with overextension. So I just sag down to a side like so. Now, when she goes to move, she has no ability to do anything from here. And it's a pretty easy thing for me to just go in and shelf my partner's leg, and I just square back up, and I bring my knees back into position where my right knee is connected to my partner's left hip, and my left knee is out for base somewhere in this area here. So now my partner goes to move me around. It's a difficult thing, and we can start to go and work from here. So we feel like we can't step over a knee, so we shelf a leg instead. All right, so once we have our partner's leg shelved, how are we going to pass from here? Assuming we can step over our partner's knee, there's two different ways that we can go. We can use a movement-based method or a negation of movement-based method, where we either create movement via hip switch, or we drag our partner's leg back towards center, and we use a lot less movement, and we negate her movement by pinning a leg. So we start off with a shelved leg, like so, and now, assuming we can get over our partner's knee. So once again, we're going to walk out and over to the side. Now, the thing with a shelf is it's much easier to step over my partner's knee because of the angle change. If I have my partner's leg between my leg like so, I can only walk so far out to the side. So now if my partner goes to bring her knee up to my rib cage, it's hard to step over the knee. When I have my partner's leg shelved, number one, her leg itself is in a different position. When her leg's in between my leg, her heel's pointing towards the floor. When it's shelved, it's pointing across my hips. So just the angle change itself will create more knee exposure. And because of the position of my body, it will allow me to walk further down and out to the side. So my partner, from here, when she goes to point that knee up towards my rib cage, if her leg's in the middle, and I go to walk, it's hard to create knee exposure. When I have the leg shelved and she goes to point the knee up, I can walk further in that direction, and that's a pretty easy thing. When she goes to point that knee up high, it's a pretty easy thing to step over my partner's knee like so. Now, once I'm over the knee, I can use two methods. Number one is a hip switching method, where I use the same hip switch, except for now I don't need to focus on a trail leg being short because there's no chance you can catch me in half guard because of the orientation of our legs. I use the same hip switch method, where from here, I just quickly hip switch. I switch my head from one side to the other. I make a quick hip switch, and I switch. My head's past, and I hit that same hip switch where I shelf my partner's leg. So if I want to do that one, I just step over the knee. I switch my head from one side to the other, like so. And now from here, I just quickly hit a hip switch where my left hip drops, and then it rises. And now we have a beautiful pin. We have a beautiful pin and top side control. So I step over, like so. She goes to move from here. It's a pretty helpless position. And now from here, we just hip switch, and we can pass. That's the movement-based method. The negation of movement method is where I physically step over my partner's knee. And now from here, when she goes to move around, instead of hip switching, I just drag my partner's knee back to center line the best I can. So I just switch my head from one side to the other, and I just walk. And now I hit a much smaller movement where I just extend my leg back. I shelf it, and we work from there. If I step over the knee, I just walk my partner's leg away from her elbow. So when she goes to start moving around from here, we take our time. There's a lot less movement, and it gives you more control over a longer amount of time. The advantage to the hip switch is that you pass much faster. So you get past your partner's legs and you can score in a much shorter amount of time, but there's less control from shelving the leg to a pass. The intermediary step, there's not as much control. There's still a great position because you have your partner's hips locked, so you're going to pass either way, but there is a little bit less control. The advantage of the pinning and dragging method is that there's a lot more control through the intermediary step of passing. So you have great control when you have the leg shelved, you have great control through the actual pass, and you have great control in the end. The disadvantage is it takes more time. Okay, so depending on what you're looking for technically or tactically, these are two great options. Either hip switching past your partner's legs quickly and passing, or using a control-based method where you drag the knee away from the elbow and you have the leg pin the whole time, and then you make a subtle change where you switch the hips and shelf the leg. So a movement method and a control-based method where you negate the movement of your partner with the second one, and then you create movement on your behalf on the first.